missions that we support here at Centerpoint, and he was talking to me about wanting to maybe talk during Sunday school about Generation Z, and so him being in campus ministry for over 40 years, and me being in youth ministry for over 22 years before I came to Centerpoint, we just got to talking about how much things have changed over the years, and I said, man, Dave, I'd really love it if you just share that during the morning worship service, because I think it's really good information for us all to hear and to think about, and because a lot of times I don't think we really grasp how much things have changed in such a short period of time. Just to highlight a few of the things that he talked with us about last week, and just kind of reiterating that a little bit this morning. Some of the things that stood out to me, one of the things he talked about was, 40 years ago, we had 3 channels on the TV, and things were pretty limited on the information that we got. I mean, you could watch the local news, you could read the newspaper, even your interactions with people were very limited to those that lived around you, people you went to school with, people you go to church with, and he talked about how things have just changed so much over the years, and the interactions now that students have used to, we knew most of the people that our kids had interactions with, but now, due to technology, our students have interactions with people that we have no idea who they are, or we don't know much about them. And he talked about, he called Generation Z, which, by the way, is anybody, it can be defined as anybody who was born after 1997 is considered Generation Z, and he called them digital natives. They've never known anything else. They were born in this age, and he talked about TGIF, which we all know that as Thank God It's Friday, and he defined it as Twitter, Google, Instagram, and Facebook, and that's just kind of the age of the Generation Z. Most of them have one of these, and they can talk to whoever they want to talk to, whenever they want to talk to them. They can look up whatever they want to look up, whenever they want to look it up. It's right there. He talked a lot, and I actually talked to some of the students during Sunday school this morning and asked them about a few of these things. And I said, one of the things that he said is that students don't really talk to adults as much anymore, or ask them questions about things as much anymore, because they can just Google it. They can look it up on their phones. And I asked some of our students in Sunday school this morning, do you guys think that's true? And most of them said, yeah, they think that is true. And we talked a little bit about, well, what's the positive side of that, and what's the negative side of that? The negative side was that, well, number one, you don't know if the information you're getting, if it's a reliable source, and if they're giving you good information. That's one negative. Another one is, if you're not talking to adults and asking them questions, you're not building relationships with them. And it's so important that we have relationships with people that are older than us. So with that said, parents, it's so important for you to monitor and pay attention to what your children are ingesting electronically and who they are communicating with. Yeah, that's just so important. Another question I asked was, that he talked about, is a lot of times people talk to people from their phones that they've never actually met in person. And some of our students kind of affirmed that a little bit today in Sunday school, that happens on occasion. And they talked about Snapchat, and that a lot of times you'll Snapchat, and they talked about a thing called a streak. I've never even heard of that. I don't have Snapchat, but with Snapchat. They told me in Sunday school this morning. So I'm going to have Snapchat probably by the end of the day. So anyway, Dave kind of shared all this information with us. But then the point to it was this. It's important as a church that we're ministering to all generations and for us to understand how things are changing. We can't go back into the past. We have to keep moving forward. And if we want to meet the needs of the next generation spiritually, we're going to have to be willing to move forward with that. We certainly don't, Dave talked about this too, we don't want Satan to divide us into factions where we have the older generation and the younger generation. Church should be a place where everybody feels welcome, where they all feel a sense of community. This should be a place where students feel safe to ask questions. He talked about that we need to be talking to our students about the truth of God's Word and how it applies to their lives. And so, those things are all very, very important. A couple of things I asked the students this morning in Sunday school, I said, so what can we do moving forward to kind of help meet the needs of the next generation? And that's how this whole Snapchat thing kind of came up. They were like, well, you know what, Kelly, if you had a Snapchat and you were sending out a daily scripture for us to read or a daily devotion for us to read, we would get that on our Snapchat every day. And so that was one of the things that they talked about. So that's why we kind of started that process. And I can start a streak with them, or whatever it's called, where I talk to them every day, Snapchat with them every day. So, but I've never been willing to do that before, because I'm like, I've got Facebook, that's good enough. I don't want to mess with Twitter and all these other things. But if that's meeting the needs of the next generation, then I need to be open to doing what I need to do as a minister, to minister to the next generation. And we all need to be kind of open to how we can meet the needs of the next generation, how we can feed them spiritually. I guess that's what I'm saying. Dave talked about that in our day, it was all about books, textbooks, encyclopedias, the physical Bible in your hand. And for students today, I mean, it's Kindle, it's Wikipedia, it's looking at their Bible on their phone, getting devotions on their phone, getting daily verses on their phone. Things have just changed a bunch over the years. So I just wanted to kind of recap what he talked about last week and just kind of share kind of how that unfolded. He and I having conversations, and he and I both having a lot of passion for working with young people, and so anyway. But today we're going to kind of zoom in and talk about healthy friendships. Is what we're going to be talking about this morning. We've been doing our youth ministry search. I've been kind of doing in with Legacy, and we've been going through a series right now on healthy friendships. And I just thought it might be good to just kind of share with the congregation a little bit of what we've been talking about and studying and what they've been talking about in their small group discussion times. And so as we get into this this morning, I want to start off by showing a video clip from if we get it to work, from a movie called Grown Ups. Some of you guys maybe have seen that movie with Adam Sandler. It's a movie about a group of guys that they were kids growing up together, and they were on a championship basketball team, and then their coach from that championship basketball team dies, and they all come back to their hometown to go to his funeral, and they decide to rent a cabin and hang out with their families for a few days. And this is a scene from that movie. So we'll watch that real quick. That's the wrong scene. That's the wrong one.
So meaning we don't want to go any further with that, is that what you mean?
Yeah. I don't know what that scene's going to show. I'll just tell you what the scene is. And it's called Arrow Roulette. And so they stand in a circle, and they take their bow and arrow, and they shoot an arrow straight up in the air, and the last one to run off wins. And so in the movie clip, it's pretty funny if you've ever seen the movie. They all start running, and of course the one guy stands there the longest, and he just kind of meditates, or I don't know what he's doing, and the arrow goes into his foot. So it's a pretty funny movie clip. I'm sorry that I had Lisa pull up the wrong one, but because that was the after the fact one. So, but we'll move on into the message. But there's one line in that clip that I was going to talk about. As they're getting ready to do this, one of the friends says, "How do we always let Lenny talk us into the stupidest stuff?" You got the right one?
I don't know. I thought maybe you'd recognize the picture.
That's not it. It's only a minute and something long. It's not 3 minutes long. So if she gets in here in a second, we'll show it. So I was thinking about that. How many of you guys have a friend that was like a Lenny that gets you to do the stupidest stuff? My friend, his name was Ty. Not Ty Teagarden, but I think there's something to do with that name, Ty. And I'll tell a couple stories about my friend Ty today. But this story that I think we never did the arrow roulette, but I can remember one time we were all hanging out and we had a BB gun. And it was one of the BB guns that you pump up, and the more you pump it, the further the BB goes and more pressure, or whatever you want to call it. So my friend Ty decided it would be cool for us to shoot ourselves in the foot with the BB gun. And of course, there's girls around, and we're all trying to look tough and macho, and so it was like, all right, we'll pump it once, shoot ourselves in the foot, and then we'll pump it 5 times, shoot ourselves in the foot, pump it 10 times, and see who can go the furthest with it. And so that was my friend Ty. That was his idea. That's what we're going to do. We're going to shoot ourselves in the foot with the BB gun. And I shot myself in the foot with the BB gun. Now, if my parents would have known I'd done that, or if my dad would have seen me treating a gun that way, I would have been in so much trouble. But I'm 12, 13 years old, but I will tell you this: I was wise enough that after I did that once, it hurt, and I was done. I was out. Now, some of them, they kept going and they kept trying to act macho for the girls. Not me. So I thought I was a little bit smart. So Ty would often lead me astray, and that day he led me astray to shoot myself in the foot with a BB gun. So do we find the clip, or are we moving on?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what it might look like.
That's okay. We'll
There's
just
10
move on.
options.
So as we talk about friendships, going back to statistics from back in the day, 40 years ago, they said that the top 3 influences in a student's life, number 1 was their parents, number 2 was teachers, and number 3 was church or spiritual leaders. Now you fast forward to today, the same survey's done on what's the most influential things in a student's life. Number 1 is their friends. Number 2 is social media. And parents have dropped to number 3. And church and spiritual leaders have dropped to number 13. And so times have changed. So as we talk about friends this morning, first of all, what is a friend? A definition that you can look up of a friend is a person you know and have a bond of mutual affection with. A person that you know. I want to start there. A person that you know, like you actually know the person. You've actually met the person. In social media, on Facebook Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, sometimes they're friends with people that they don't even know. I talked to them about, on Facebook, I think I have like 868 friends, but I told them there's people on Facebook that I'm friends with on Facebook that I've never actually met. Sometimes I'll get a friend request from someone, and I'll see that we have so many mutual friends, and I'll accept their friend request, and especially being in a minister position, I don't want to reject someone's friend request. That may not look good, but I reiterated to the students that the true definition of a friend is someone that you know and you have a bond of mutual affection with. Oftentimes students become friends with people on social media, and sometimes with people that they never actually met face to face. I had a student one day tell me that he got to talking about some girl from Nevada, Missouri, that he was seeing or talking to, or whatever lingo they use this day. And I was like, so how'd you meet her? You live in Sircoxie, she lives in Nevada, that's quite a ways away. Well, I've never actually met her. I go, really? I go, so how, we met on social media. And of course, I was talking to him, I said, well, I go, how do you know that this pretty girl from Nevada isn't really some 60-year-old creepy guy living in his mom's basement? And he demonstrated the girl does actually exist. But here's the thing, you got to be careful, because there are creepy people out there that will pretend to be someone that they're really not. And again, that's so important for parents to be monitoring who your kids are talking to and what they're doing with their phones and on social media. I think about my kids, and I've talked about my kids quite a bit. My kids are, one's about to turn 25. She's married, about to have a baby here in a couple weeks. And my son is 21. He's a senior in college now. But growing up, I think Angel and I did a pretty good job at keeping tabs of who our kids' friends were. And we always wanted them to come to our house compared to our kids going to their house. But I think about just how things have changed just in a short period of time. There was two things that happened just this week with my son Tanner. It was like a weeknight one evening, and he told me, I'm going to go next door and play 2K with Trenton. Now, two things. Number one, 2K is an NBA basketball video game. So that's what 2K is. But he said he was going to go next door and play with Trenton. Trenton is his cousin. Trenton's my nephew, who's been here several times. Real tall kid, plays basketball at Southwest Baptist University. And so I asked Tanner, I go, is Trenton home from college? Why is he home in the middle of the week? No, he's not home. We're going to play online. And so he goes over there, and I've seen him do this before. He's got this headset on. He's got ear dills and a microphone that comes down, and they play video games together. And Trenton's in Bolivar, Tanner's in Carl Junction, and they're playing video games together. They're teammates on a 2K game, playing video games. And Friday night, Tanner got home from work, and he was in his bedroom, and he started getting kind of loud and laughing. And so I just opened his door to see what he was doing, and he was FaceTiming with his friend Ben, who's a student at Missouri State. And they were just talking and laughing and having a good old time. And so, that's just two instances of where friends aren't in the house physically, but they are there. And so it's so important right out the gate for parents, for you to understand that your kids' friends don't have to be physically with them to be influencing them. They're on social media. They're on phone, FaceTime. They're on online video games. And that's how many of them prefer to do communication. So, all right, we still want to show this video clip, so we'll watch.
this one's it?
It looks like it. All right, fellas.
I can't believe we're doing this.
How do we always let Lenny talk to the stupidest stuff?
Remember the rule, whoever stays in for a little longer can win.
No, I don't. What? Whoever stays right. We gotta stand there. I don't see it. Where is it? I lost it in the silence. Okay, so that was the video clip I wanted to show earlier. So, friends influence us to do stupid things, and really that's what I want to talk to us about a little bit this morning. So, I asked this question: what would a perfect friend look like? And these are some of the characteristics that the students of Legacy came up with. Honest, trustworthy, accepting, fun, nice. They listen, they're outgoing, they're loyal. And then we kind of went through the process, well, what's the process like in becoming friends with someone? How does that happen? And we kind of did a silly thing where I had someone up here like I was interviewing them. We don't interview people to see if they're going to become our friend or not. That's not how life works. And so what I really kind of got down to with them is that we really don't choose our friends. We gravitate toward acceptance. We become friends with the people that are most accepting of us. That happens at school, happens on sports teams, it happens at work, it happens at church. It's just kind of a natural thing that we become friends with people that are most accepting to us. Watch someone that walks into some kind of party or some kind of event. They naturally gravitate towards people that they know, people that's accepting of them. I went to a Sirpoxy football game a couple weeks ago, and I got there, and there was a whole lot of people I didn't know, but I saw some of the Legacy students that I knew, and I gravitated towards them and had conversation with them. Jim Atchison was there, and he and I visited and talked for a little while during the game. It's just kind of a natural